12:15 now, and I call the meeting to order. This 33rd annual general meeting of Bajaj Finance. I'm told by the company secretary that we have a quorum present.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he confirms that the quorum is present. I will cover some routine items which need to be covered partly because, or mainly because the meeting is now through video conferencing. Because of the continuing restrictions on the movement of people at several places in the country, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, wide circular number, that going to details May 5th, 2020, read with the circulars dated 8th April 2020 and 13th April 2020, has allowed companies to conduct their AGMs through the video conferencing we see.
You see me now?
Sorry?
No, you can go.
To VC or any other audiovisual means during this calendar year 2020. Accordingly, we have now decided to hold this meeting through video conferencing. As required under the regulation 44(6) of SEBI listing regulations 2015, the company has provided the facility of one-way live webcast of the proceedings of this AGM. Members who are entitled to participate, who are the shareholders in the AGM, can view the proceedings of the AGM by logging on to the e-meeting website of KFin, that is KFin Technologies, in short KFin. While all efforts have been made by the company to make this video conferencing meeting smooth, participants connected through mobile devices, tablets, laptops, etc., may at some times experience audio-visual loss due to the fluctuations in their respective networks. Hence, if possible, use of a stable Wi-Fi or local area network connection can mitigate some of the technical glitches if at all they arise. Members who need any technical assistance during the AGM can contact KFin, which is preferable, at the email ID or at the helpline members provided in the notice of the AGM, which was sent to each of you. All efforts feasible under the circumstances, as I've mentioned, have been made by the company to enable members to participate and vote on the items being considered in the meeting. I'll start in a way with a sad event which took place on 22nd of February 2020, when we lost in the sad demise of our very, very precious colleague. I still get emotional on that. Shri Nanu Pamnani. He died all of a sudden on 22nd of February, was vice chairman of a couple of our companies, and much more than that, he was a mentor, guidance to all directors and all top management and lot of senior managements, especially of Bajaj Finance and also of some of the insurance, both the insurance companies. I first start by saying myself, I'm Rahul Bajaj, Chairman of Bajaj Finance. I'm conducting the meeting from Bajaj Auto's AGM hall, so I'm introducing myself, and also I would request all the directors to introduce themselves in the approved sequence. Start with Sanjeev.
I'm Sanjeev Bajaj, Vice Chairman and Non-Executive Director of the company, attending the AGM from the registered office in Pune.
Rajiv Jain.
I'm Rajiv Jain, Managing Director of the company.
attending the AGM from registered office, Pune.
Rajiv Bajaj,
I'm Rajiv Bajaj, director of the company at Bajaj Auto, Akurdi.
Deepak Poddar. Deepak is there, yes. Can you hear me, Deepak? Have you unmuted the mic?
So kindly unmute your mic, sir.
Hello,
Yeah, go ahead.
I am Deepak Poddar, Independent Director of the company, and I am attending this meeting from my home in Mumbai.
Thank you, Deepak. Ranjan Sanghi.
This is Ranjan Sanghi, Independent Director of Bajaj Finance. I'm attending the meeting, the annual general meeting from my home in Mumbai. Thank you.
Balaji Rao. What's happening?
We unmute. Call his name again. Just call his name again.
Is Balaji Rao on mute? Is he there?
No, he's there. We can see him. Maybe you can try the next and come back. We'll come back to him at the end.
Dr. Omkar Goswami.
This is Omkar Goswami. I hope you can hear me. I can hear you very well, Chairman, and I am attending this meeting from my office in New Delhi.
Dr. Geeta Piramal.
I'm Geeta Piramal, an independent director of the company, attending the AGM from my residence in Mumbai.
There are lots of doctors in this company's board, from Goswamis to Piramals to, but I'm coming to Dr. Naushad Forbes. I do have a few doctorate degrees, but they are honorary, not like yours. Okay, Naushad.
This is Naushad Forbes. I'm an independent director of Bajaj Finance. I'm attending this meeting from my residence in Pune.
Anami.
This is Anami Roy, Independent Director of the company. I am attending this AGM from my residence in Pune. I can see and hear it.
Thank you, Anami. You are attending the meeting from your residence in Pune, which is for a change. Otherwise, you are resident in Mumbai. Madhur Bajaj. Madhur, have you unmuted your mic?
I think he was having some trouble connecting. We were trying to do that. We can go back to.
Can I come back to? Is it possible to come back to Mr. Balaji Rao?
Yeah, this is Balaji Rao from Bangalore. I'm not able to get the picture.
Okay. The last one, again, is possible for him to connect. Madhur Bajaj. Probably he's having some difficulty in connecting. He's very much there. He was there also at the board meeting, and he's very much here in the AGM. And I'll mention it that he's present at this meeting, and he's also from his residence in Pune. Okay. Let me also mention that, I think will all directors, unless they speak, can you please mute your mics? And the following also are present in the meeting, many of them virtually and some in reality. Sandeep Jain, he is on the podium. Also, R. Vijay, of course, company secretary is floating around. Arvind Sethi and Shravan Jalan, they are virtually there. Partners of the auditing firm, the SRBC and Company LLP. And the secretarial auditor, Shama Prasad Leme, he is also the scrutinizer for this purpose, for the purpose of remote and e-voting. Also, CEOs and CFOs of subsidiary companies of the company are also present virtually. I think this has been done. Okay. I come to the next item on the agenda, which is normally the routine items which take place even when there is a real meeting. The following documents are made available for inspection, not on the table here, but electronically for obvious reasons. Director's report, standalone and consolidated financial statement and auditor's reports thereto or thereon, secretarial audit report, register of contracts with related party in which directors are interested under section 189 of the Companies Act of 2013, register of directors and key managerial personnel and their shareholding under section 170 of the Companies Act 2013, and finally, certificate from the statutory auditors of the company that the BFL Employee Stock Option Scheme 2019 is in accordance with the SEBI Share-Based Employee Benefits Regulations of 2014 and the members' resolution. I may add that since the meeting is held through VC facilities, based on what the government has decided, the option to appoint a proxy is not available. However, resolutions, if any, under section 113 of the Companies Act 2013 are allowed for giving authorizations to attend and to vote at the meeting. The company has resolutions under section 113 of the Companies Act 2013 for authorization to attend and to vote in respect of 338,329,100 shares. That means around 33 crores of shares which have been received, representing 56.14%.
I request the boardroom to be unmuted. Thank you.
Okay. As usual, as per the normal meetings, I move that the notice of the meeting and the director's report with the consent of the members present to be taken as read. And according to the Companies Act 2013 and secretarial standards, the auditor's reports on the standalone and consolidated financial statements and the secretarial audit report are only to be read when there are qualifications or adverse observations or comments in the report. Since there are no such qualifications, observations, or comments, the auditor's reports and the secretarial audit report will not be read out at the meeting. Actually, now I have to go ahead and make some kind of presentation, but I think rather than my making a presentation, I would prefer that our managing director, who is much more competent than me, especially on this matter, I would request him in a couple of minutes to make a detailed presentation on the working of the company with special reference, of course, for the year, but was with particular reference to Q1 of the current financial year, 2020-2021. I may, however, like to add that in these very difficult times, what I'm referring to is coronavirus times and the COVID-19 times, I hope and pray that you and your families are keeping well and keeping safe, all our shareholders for that matter. And quite early, actually, within, I think, 4 days or 3-4 days of the lockdown having been imposed by the government. I think it was starting on midnight of March 24, actually starting from March 25. Within, I think, 2 or 3 days, I believe that we were the first to declare. We were already thinking of that. We committed as much as rupees 100 crores support. Apart from our other philanthropic activities or CSR activities, apart from those, during this year, 2020-21, 100 crores, essentially, mainly for COVID. And we declared it, I think, by a full-page letter from me, signed by me, which was publicized or circulated to the press. And it was very early compared when the seriousness of this virus became evident. We believe that we have already spent, or actually really committed, over rupees 70 crores out of this 100 crores, over 70 crores in various areas, including upgradation of healthcare in Maharashtra, especially in Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Uttarakhand, rural healthcare upgradation, alternative livelihoods, especially for rural communities. More than 40 lakhs, 4 million, 40 lakh meals and dry rations have been distributed. 10 district and rural hospitals have been upgraded or are being upgraded. And Pune's largest COVID care center, Pune's largest COVID care center with 2,800 beds, 2,800 beds, with our support, has just opened. And 4.5 crores worth of PPEs, personal protective equipment, have been distributed to different hospitals. And COVID awareness and support campaigns are running in over 500 villages, and a massive distribution of homeopathic medicines. I think some of you may know that. It's called Camphora 1M. A huge amount have been distributed, some of course on cost basis, basically by us, but a lot of it free, including to the police and about 9,000 of policemen in Pune and many others. Of course, apart from all the group companies, tens of thousands of group companies, employees received these things, received this Camphora 1M tablet, which is meant for as a prophylactic for preventive, but the same medicine, not different, is meant if, God forbid, if you start suffering from COVID, then same medicine, but the dosage will change. Then I won't go into that. And I may add that our fight continues against this virus, and together we will, of course, overcome it. In conclusion on this matter, I will add that as a society we have to balance, and this is very important, lives. Of course, lives are very important, nobody can deny that, but also livelihood. If we don't protect livelihood and employment, it could lead to loss of lives. We must all wear masks, practice good personal hygiene and social distancing. These three are very important to keep the virus from spreading. The authorities also, very important, need to first ensure that these things are implemented when we are outside our homes, but they need to ensure adequate testing, tracing, and of course, care. It is also equally important that business must stay open and micro-containment strategies must replace total or local even lockdowns. This, yes, admittedly, is going to be a long fight, and personal safety and economic growth, I repeat, personal safety and economic growth, which will lead to personal safety ultimately, must continue hand in hand. We have been reading in the last couple of days, whereas maybe the ultimate in the proper vaccine may take another year or so, I don't know, nobody knows. but we'll be hearing about this Oxford, this thing which they say can come very fast, but fast can create a little doubt in our minds. Those things which can take a year, 2 years, and ultimately 5 years of trials and apart from research. Fast tracking it, understandably the governments are fast tracking it because of this pandemic, but we have to be very sure that if this Oxford vaccine, which very much our Pune company, Serum Institute, I think their CEO will be on TV today at 4:30 or something on India Today channel. I'm making an advertisement on his behalf. We can only hope that that Oxford vaccine turns out to be something which is good. Thank you very much. And I do have a lot of points to make. My company secretary told me and my managing director told me that we must do something, but I said no, much better person will do it. Rajiv Jain, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon to all of you. I'll take you through a short presentation. I'll try and keep it brief, given the format. Very good afternoon. Welcome to our 33rd annual general meeting. Moderator, can you move the slide? I have 5 points to cover, 6 points to cover very quickly. I'll just give you very quickly last 10-year snapshot, how some of our metrics have moved in the last 10 years. How did the quarter go? We've already issued the press release on our Q1 that went by. The investor presentation has also been uploaded, but I'll still give you a texture on our Q1. I'll also share with you very briefly as to what is our approach so far been to navigate the pandemic. And lastly, but most importantly, how never waste a crisis. I'll give you some glimpse of it. Moderator, can you move to the next slide? This is a 10-year snapshot. There's a lot of data here. I'm not going to spend time on this. While we are in 13th year of our transformation, at a fundamental level, in the last 10 years, our assets have grown 39% on a CAGR basis. Our NII has grown 36% on a CAGR basis. Operating expenses have only grown 32%. And profits over the last 10 years, CAGR have grown 40%. Our return on equity over the last 10 years has remained between 20 and 22%. So overall, it's been pre-COVID. It's been a good story for us as a company. Moderator, over to the next slide. If you look at some of the reasons for our success or the success of your company, these 7-8 points come to mind very clearly. Over the last 10 years, the customer franchise has gone from 5 million, a tad below 5 million, to 42.6 million as of March 31. This number is up at 43.5 million. Cross-sell franchise, since we started to publish it 5 years ago, was at 6.3 million, is up at, as of March 31st, at 24 million. Customers have gone from 5 million, new customer addition on a year-on-year basis, what we're adding has moved from 5 million a year to 8.7 million. We were your company was in 79 cities in FY11. Today it's in 2,392 cities and towns in India. Your company was present in 4,400 points of sale. Today it's present in 114,000 points of sale. EMI card franchise, which powers our customers to be able to do more business with us on an ongoing basis, has moved from 500,000 to 22 million. Credit cards business, important part of the payments railroad framework that the company is working on, moved from nothing in FY17 to 1.8 million cards in force. Wallets, another payment railroad, has moved from in FY18 from 1.3 million to now 15.2 million. That's really a quick word on the key metrics that we see drive or power the growth of the company. Moderator, can you move to the next slide? Jumping on the quarter that went by, clearly Q1 was a pandemic quarter. Focus of the quarter was on employee safety, capital preservation, liquidity management, business scenario planning, operating expenses management, collections capacity augmentation, given the sheer volume of clients that went into moratorium. trying to figure out what kind of new customer propositions can be created, and create a business transformation framework, which as and when we are out of pandemic and demand comes back, we as a company are in right place to be able to seize that opportunity. But lastly and most importantly, we went into lockdown, and suddenly today, I'm happy to say, since then, all the 2,392 locations have actually been restarted, and businesses, wherever local administrations are allowing, businesses actually started again. If you convert this expression into numbers for Q1, the year-on-year assets have grown by 7% to 1,38,000 crores. OPEX to NI went down from 35% to 27.9%, given that there's very little business. Profit after tax has actually gone down by 19% to 962 crores. ROE has gone down as a result of profit going down, and net NPA has gone down from 64 basis points to 50 basis points. Just to give you, moderator, if you can move to the next slide, let me just give you some color and texture on the key areas that I talked about. In terms of balance sheet, if you look at it, company has restarted its business in a phased manner between 10th May to 5th July. Of course, we have to be prudent, and that's really the reason it's part of balance sheet management. We've started in a much tighter manner, given we don't know how customers will behave as they come back to take more loans from us. At this juncture, it's looking like semi-urban and rural markets recovery. It's much stronger than we actually anticipated. So the momentum is much stronger in semi-urban and rural markets. We managed versus 7.8 million loans that your company did in Q4. Given the pandemic and the lockdown for 68 days, company managed to do only 1.7 million loans. But when we look at the early performance of those loans that we have disbursed between 10th of May to 30th of June, either they are in line with pre-COVID clients that we are onboarding, or marginally better. On liquidity management, your company continues to remain very liquid. Company had 20,590 crores of liquidity buffer as of 20th July, and in addition to 2,550 crores of SLR investments. Overall, 19.2% of the total borrowing at this point in time of your company is in liquid and cash and cash equivalents. Deposit book, an important measure for us to able to fund the growth of the company, stood at 20,061 crores, a growth of 33%. On operating expense management, we realized as we suddenly entered into the pandemic that clearly we don't have control over revenue at this juncture. We don't have control over how credit costs will play, but we do have control as a company over operating expenses. So the company and the management went out and aggressively looked at all the cost lines. I'm happy to report as a result, on a sequential basis, company has managed to reduce 294 crores of its OPEX base. On a sequential basis, on a year-on-year basis, it's down 11% by 150 odd crores, and on a sequential basis, it's down 296 crores. There are several actions we've taken to ensure that we manage to tide through this once-in-a-century crisis. Can you move to the next panel, moderator? At this juncture, on credit costs, which is an important area of attention for everybody, and everybody wants to know as to how things are looking. Let me just provide some quick texture. The moratorium book, which we published, is down from 38,599 crores, which was 27.1% of the AUM, to 21,705 crores, which is 15.7% of the AUM. During the quarter, one of the reasons for profits being down by 19% is that company has taken 1,450 crores of contingency provision on account of COVID, taking its overall provision to tad below 3,000 crore to 2,950 odd crores. That's the provision in the last 2 quarters between Q4 and Q1 that we've taken. As a measure of prudence on the moratorium book, for the interest that is accruing, companies also taken a prudent call to set aside 20% of the interest accrued and not recognized it as a measure of prudence. The last update by the company on its credit cost scenario was essentially presented on 6th April 2020 investor call that we did. As per that, the management estimated that overall credit costs on a year-on-year basis could rise as a result of COVID by 80 to 90%. Since then, it was assumed at that point of time that the overall lockdown would extend up to 45 days. The eventual lockdown extended all the way up to 68 days from a national lockdown standpoint. Based on that, as we've done various scenario planning, and this is scenario planning, I must say at this point in time, even as we speak now, out of 2,392 cities and towns, 86 towns representing 15% of our business is in a lockdown state. Based on various scenario models at this point in time, we estimate that our overall credit cost on a year-on-year basis will actually rise by 100 to 110%, growing from 3,000 crore to 6,000 to 6,300 crores. Overall, the company's profitability or pre-provision profitability remains reasonably strong to be able to weather this once-in-a-century event that's happened. To reduce the pain of the credit cost, company has augmented its collections infrastructure and has ensured that has added close to 2,800 collections officer in the company and over 16,000 agencies. Profitability I talked about. Overall, companies also looked at wherever possible the margin profile to ensure that it can navigate the pandemic better. On capital, which is the last point on the panel, company remains very, very well capitalized. Its overall capital adequacy at this point in time is 26.4% as of 30th June. Its Tier 1 capital is 22.6%. One of the best capitalized large NBFCs in India is really how we would be seen as today. I'm on to my last panel. Moderator, can you move the panel? We do very strongly believe that COVID has been enforced on us. We didn't create it. The company was in an excellent position ending Q4. It had a very strong FY20. Moderator, can you move the panel to panel 9? Yeah. The company has very strong capital base. Company has strong liquidity. Company has managed its OPEX. Company has done augmentation of its collections infrastructure. Really significant amount of time of the company now, apart from managing day to day, is going into transforming the business, that as and when demand comes back, as and when we get out of COVID, company is in a much more stronger position to seize that demand. So company is accelerating a set of initiatives that were in pipeline to ensure that sometime in FY22, we look at very different company which has aggregated its customer franchise, its merchant ecosystem, its payment railroad infrastructure, its marketplace investments that it's been making to dramatically transform moment of truth for its customers and prospects. That's really how I would articulate this panel, just in interest of time. And we continue to work hard to ensure that we can, while ensuring employee safety, that we can get out of this pandemic on a stronger wicket. Thank you very much for the time and for the presentation.
Thank you, Rajiv. I will only add that in addition to getting out of the pandemic and to ensure your employees' welfare, which is very, very important, but you would also ensure the welfare of all your shareholders who are present here today.
Yes.
Or not present here today.
Yes.
Because of this, we seek meeting to make some required announcements regarding e-voting and AGM resolutions. There are six, seven of them. The company, in accordance with the Companies Act 2013 and the SEBI listing regulations 2015, has provided facility to members as on 14th of July 2020, the cutoff date, to exercise the votes on the items of business given in the notice through the remote e-voting system. E-voting platform provided by KFin is being used by the company for this purpose. The remote e-voting period, as you are aware, some of you at least must be aware, remained open from July 18, 2020, 9 a.m. to July 20, 2020 till 5 p.m. For those members who have not yet voted, facility is provided to vote even now through electronic means during the meeting as per the procedure already set out in detail in the notice of the AGM which you have received. Sri Shama Prasad D. Lemay, which I referred to as apart from his being a practicing company secretary, has been appointed by the board of directors of this company as a scrutinizer for scrutinizing the e-voting process. Each of the items in the notice of the AGM will be taken up for discussions. At the end of the discussions, e-voting will be kept open. Please note, at the end of the discussions, before we conclude the meeting, after we conclude the meeting, e-voting will be kept open for another 10 minutes, during which e-voting can be done by those who may not have voted either by remote e-voting or e-voting at the meeting, for those who still would like to vote. This is known to everybody, but I think I must mention this without going to the details of the resolutions, that the AGM notice circulated to the members by email contains resolutions to be taken up at this meeting. For ready reference, there are 5 resolutions, 3 ordinary resolutions and 2 special resolutions. I will mention broadly the heading of the resolutions without going to details, and that is all available as per the AGM notice. The ordinary business 1, 2, 3. 1, adoption of financial statements for the year 31st March 2020, together with the directors and auditors' reports thereon. 2, to confirm the interim dividend of 10 rupees, that is 500%, per equity share of face value of 2 each, as a face value of 2 each, as final dividend for the financial year ended 31st March 2020, which is the year which has just passed by. And 3, reappointment of Madhur Kumar Ramkrishna Ji Bajaj, DIN 000, very, very complicated, 000145993. These DIN numbers are very long. The reappointment of Madhur Ramkrishna Ji Bajaj as a director who retires by rotation. The 2 special businesses, reappointment of Rajiv Jain, DIN 015501158, only for identification, Rajiv, as managing director of the company for a period of 5 years with effect from 1st April 2020, which has just gone by about 3 months ago. And 2, also a special business, issue of non-convertible debentures through private placement. I come to the end of that particular part, which are the routine parts. And I've mentioned this, that you are welcome to ask questions, queries, comments, all of you, on all the items of the business which I referred to just now. And the moderator, I think, will take up the queries of shareholders who have registered themselves as speakers. Each speaker will have 2 minutes time. Please keep to the time, because otherwise the moderator will give you a notice about around 2 minutes, and otherwise he'll have to switch off your mic, unmute your mic, because the next speaker will have to come. And please also be, because of the limitation on time, you have to be brief and precise, and of course to avoid repeat questions. The queries received over the mails will be taken up subject to availability of time. And I may mention that once we start the queries and questions and comments, replies to the same will be provided by Shri Sandeep Jain, the CFO of the company, and some by the Managing Director, Rajiv Jain, and some, those which still remain in that order by Sanjeev Bajaj, the Vice Chairman of the company. I would now request the members to vote who have not earlier voted through remotely voting. This will be another 10 minutes, and then they'll.
First speaker. We'll have a speaker.
First speaker, starting from the moderator.
Yeah.
Yes, even.
So may I request the moderator, please, to call on the first speaker and then go on to the next speakers.
Thank you,
Which are
sir.
all decided by the company and given to the moderator.
Thank you, sir. This is Siddhartha. I'll bring the speakers one after another for the Q&A session. I first request Mr. Sayanthan Bhaumik to proceed with your question. Your camera is already seen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, sir, and members of the board. I'm Sayanthan Bhaumik, and I represent PineBridge Investments. We hold a little over 1 million shares of Bajaj Finance. We had a few observations and questions, which are as follows. In 2020, the company processed about 27.4 million loans. In a year, there are about 30 million seconds, and which means the company has processed nearly 1 loan per second. This is nothing short of extraordinary, and I'm sure the company will outdo itself in the coming years. We're also happy with the conservative provisioning policy of the company and the high provision cover maintained over the years. Some of the questions that we have are, we noticed that based on the disclosures in the annual report, as well as talking to people in the industry, that Bajaj Finance market share on online purchases is lower than market share for offline purchases. If this hypothesis is true, may I please know the efforts being taken by the management to rectify the situation? Another thing we note is that payment companies today have a higher market capitalization compared to banks. Visa is bigger than JP Morgan Chase. MasterCard is bigger than Bank of America. It is astonishing that to note that the payments firms which carry low risk are now being rewarded more than banks which take large risks. Maybe because as gatekeepers, they take a small slice of every transaction and in turn direct customers to their favorite partners. In India, Google Pay and PhonePe control 75% of UPI payments. How do we ensure that we do not lose out on this as this ecosystem evolves? And how do we ensure that we maintain not just our market share, but also our favorable economics? The third question is, we have nearly 25,000 employees for a technology-intensive operation, while HDFC Bank has 4 times more employees, but 6 times higher advances book. I would request your comments on this observation. The use of technology and data analytics are some of the core strengths of the company. In this regard, it would be helpful to undertake a cybersecurity audit to ensure all systems are resilient against the ever-increasing threat of cyber attacks. Finally, I would like to say that we at PineBridge are very satisfied with the way Bajaj Finance has handled the pandemic till now and are supportive of the company in its endeavors to restore normalcy as soon as possible. With this, I would like to thank the board, the management, the employees of Bajaj Finance, and wish them all the best for the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request the speaker, Mehul Manilal, to kindly unmute your mic, switch on your camera, and speak. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, give condolence to Mr. Nano Pomnani. First of all, I would like to give a condolence to Mr. Nano Pomnani and our chairman, Mr. Rahul Bajaj, got emotional during his speech. The company has done very well during this financial year and especially during pandemic. So I'm a customer, I'm a client of Bajaj Finance. I'm using less service of your company, and the way your systems are doing, I'm very much satisfied. And the way during pandemic time, the markets have crashed drastically. Even during that time, I was very much satisfied with your systems. I will not say with people, but with system, I was very much happy. I have a few questions to ask. What is our LAS book size? Why we have reduced our LAS business as on 31st March 2020? It was 24% down. Also, I would like to know what is the total size of LAS book that amount is financed through during the financial year, because it was a closing amount that 4,858 crore was a closing amount as on 31st March. I want to know entire amount. How much was? Then next question is about IPO funding. In a LAS, there is a product called IPO funding. I want to know total amount that IPO funding is done through Bajaj Finance Limited during this fiscal. We have approximately 7 to 8 IPOs, good IPOs in fiscal 2019-20, and most of them were financed by Bajaj Finance, and I feel Bajaj Finance is leading in IPO finance market. So your size will, your IPO funding size will be very important for me to know. Next is your income grew by 37%, but your PAT was 25%. So maybe your, I mean to say, profit margins have reduced slightly. You have next question is you have pending service tax litigations for 1,400 crores. So can we conclude that in coming year? I know that the service tax department and all are very difficult to come across, but I want that matter, that thing to be removed from next, at least in next balance sheet. Also, one more question about recovery cost, appointed as a managing director for next 5 years. That's all.
Thank you. I now invite Mr. Ravi Kumar Naredi to kindly unmute your camera, unmute your mic and speak. Thank you. Mr. Ravi Kumar, I request you to kindly unmute yourself and proceed with your question. Mr. Ravi Kumar, I kindly request you to unmute your mic and proceed with your question.
Hello.
We can hear you, sir.
Hello. Yes, sir. Okay. Respected Chairman, MD, eminent Board of Directors, employees of the company, fellow shareholder. First of all, I pay homage to Sri Nannu Pomnani ji. Under his guidance, company grew like anything. You had given the UM list, so want to know in which segment we just to grow more and where we grow slow. Second, loans against securities given to Karvy. What is current situation? How much we received and how much we have provided? Whatever loan we had given, how much is secured and how much is unsecured, sir? Sir, what is current incremental cost? If you can tell, it will help us. And sir, as a company co-branded credit card business with RBL Bank, due to COVID, are we going slow or as usual we run this card business? What is your planning on this front? And that is over from my side, sir.
Thank you, sir. I now request Speaker Trupti Ullas to kindly unmute your mic, switch on your camera and speak. Thank you. I request the speaker, Trupti Ullas, to kindly unmute your mic, switch on your camera and speak. Okay, there looks like there's a trouble for the speaker to connect. I now invite Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal to kindly unmute your mic, switch on your camera and speak.
Hello.
Hello, sir. We can hear
Am I
you.
audible?
Please proceed with your question. Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I am a shareholder and also I work at Vasant Maheshwari Wealth Advisors. So my question to Rajiv and the team is, we have provided around 2,900 crore for COVID provisions this year, and we intend to provide for the full year around 6 to 6,300 crore. So going forward in FY21 and in FY22, do we expect some part of this to be recovered, or we as a matter of prudence, we are not considering that and we don't intend to have any recovery because our collection machinery is very strong and economy has been improving gradually. So in FY21 in later stage or in FY22, do we intend to recover these amounts or we can consider them as written off? Second question is that a long-term guidance on ROE is around 20-22%. So, but in pre-COVID levels, it was around 25% around. So, by when do we intend to reach a ROE of 24-25%? So that's my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Speaker Rachna Prasad to kindly unmute your mic and proceed with your question.
Respected Chairman, sir, and members of the board, I'm Rachna Prasad, a member of Millennium MAMS and a proud shareholder of Bajaj Finance Limited. First, I would like to congratulate you for your decision to commit rupees 100 crore for fight against COVID-19. And my question is, sir, I've noticed that there are some clients of Bajaj Finance who keep posting complaints on social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms about customer-related, queries. So I would like to know that what is the complaint handling process in such cases? And also, Bajaj Finance is sitting on around 21,000 crore cash. So how does Bajaj Finance plan to deploy it? And sir, rural India will be the growth driver in the next financial year in light of COVID-19. So how is the company planning to optimize this opportunity? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request the speaker, Mr. Pramod Kumar, to kindly unmute your mic, switch on your camera and speak. Thank you.
नमस्कार एन रॉय साहब। राहुल जी ने कहा कि यहाँ पे सब डॉक्टर्स बैठे हुए हैं। यहाँ पे अपने रॉय साहब महाराष्ट्र पुलिस के डीजीपी हैं जिन्होंने 40 साल महाराष्ट्र की सेवा की है। बहुत ही अच्छे इंसान हैं। आपका मैं कुछ क्वेरीज है मेरी मीटिंग के लिए। बजटेड Q2, Q3, Q4 का प्रॉफिट क्या होगा? आपकी कंपनी बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंट है, सर इंडिया की सबसे अच्छी ट्रांसपेरेंट कंपनी है, इसके लिए मैं आपको बधाई देता हूँ। इस समय काफी बिजनेसेस बंद हुए हैं और बहुत सारे जॉब लॉसेस हुए हैं, तो लोगों का इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए काफी सरप्लस है। तो मेरा एक आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप एक बड़ा राइट शेयर इशू लेके आए। आपका लास्ट राइट शेयर हेलो
Please go ahead with your question, sir. Thank you.
हेलो
You're audible, sir. Please go ahead with your question.
और राजीव जी ने कहा था एक बहुत ग्रे एरिया है स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में, उसके बारे में मैं बोलना चाहता हूं कि राजीव जी ने कहा था कि जो टॉप 20 जो FIs या जो शेयर इन्वेस्टर हैं उन्होंने अपनी होल्डिंग पैंडेमिक में बढ़ाई। तो इस टाइम में जो शेयर आपका क्रैश हुआ, करीब 65% शेयर क्रैश हुआ। तो मेरे फादर स्टॉक मार्केट में थे, तो उन्होंने कहा था कि जब भी वॉलेटाइल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज होता है तो जो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट है वो कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर करते हैं। अरविंद मफताल गए थे एक बार बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में, तो इस समय लोगों ने काफी पैनिक में काफी नुकसान किया। तो मेरा एक अनुरोध है कि इस समय में जो आप लोग हैं उनको, आपको जो छोटे इन्वेस्टर हैं उनमें कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड करना चाहिए। एक मेरा एक सजेशन है कि बीच में दीपक पारेख और मिस्टर उमटार, इन्होंने जो कैपिटल इसके HDFC के कैपिटल मार्केट लिमिटेड सब्सिडियरी है, तो वो लोग अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में बहुत बड़ा काम कर रहे हैं। इंडिया में जो कोविड में जो सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम हुआ कि लोगों के घर छोटे हैं और इससे ज्यादा बहुत स्प्रेड हुआ और इससे ज्यादा बहुत ज्यादा अर्बन लोगों को अर्बन एरिया में बहुत तकलीफ है। तो मेरा एक सजेशन है कि अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के लिए आप एक सब्सिडियरी बनाएं और उसमें कंस्ट्रक्शन करें, तो हाउसिंग लोन भी आप लोग दे सकते हैं। तो ये इन हाउस एक बहुत ही बड़ा प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस है। एक बहुत बड़ा ग्रे एरिया है कि आप लोग जो आपकी कंपनी है वो बिजनेसमैन को हाउसिंग लोन नहीं देती है। तो बिजनेस जो HDFC है, जो भी बड़ी इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, सारी इंस्टीट्यूशंस हाउसिंग लोन देते हैं उनको। तो आप लोगों को भी अभी इस पैंडेमिक में और ऐसे जब बिजनेस कम हुआ है तो इस एरिया में आप लोगों को ध्यान देना चाहिए। साथ ही MMR और पुणे है, इस एरिया में अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग का बहुत ही ज्यादा स्कोप है। तीसरा मैं एक आपको सजेशन दूंगा जो आपको थोड़ा सरप्राइजिंग भी लगेगा कि जो वोडाफोन है, जो उसका जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में केस चल रहा है बहुत ही एक नाटकीय ढंग से चल रहा है। और इंडिया में तीन कंपनीज जो डेटा इज अ न्यू ऑयल, तो 3 टेलीकॉम कंपनीज की बहुत ही ज्यादा जरूरत है। तो अगर ये कंपनी NCLAT में जाती है तो आप लोगों को ये कंपनी लेने का सोचना चाहिए, क्योंकि आपकी बहुत ही ज्यादा ब्रांड वैल्यू बहुत ज्यादा है और आपके शेयर्स हैं वो अच्छे से बिक जाएंगे। ऐसा नहीं हो कि कंपनी है ना बर्बाद हो जाए और ये जो टेलीकॉम सेक्टर है उसमें वो ज्यादा आरपू के लिए बहुत ज्यादा पे करना पड़े। मेरा ये सजेशन आप इसमें जरूर ध्यान दें और आपके जो बजटेड प्रॉफिट्स हैं जो मंथ्स के और जो करंट वर्किंग है वो जरा डिटेल में समझाने की क्लिक करें। और मैं आपको कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशन देना चाहता हूं कि आपने 33 इयर्स में 300 टाइम्स रिटर्न दिया है। ये डिविडेंड के अलावा है, जो कि शायद वर्ल्ड की एक मिसाल है। और अगर इसी तरह 10-20 इंडियन कंपनीज काम करेगी तो इंडिया बहुत ज्यादा ग्रो करेगा। और जो अपने बोलते हैं चाइना को अपने को टैकल करना है, ड्रैगन को सुपर पावर को टैकल करना है, तो अपनी इकोनॉमिक सुपर पावर होके ही उसको टैकल कर सकते हैं। और एक मैं बहुत ग्रे एरिया के बारे में बोलना चाहता हूँ, जो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी
I request you to kindly wrap your question, sir. Thank you.
उसको कांटेक्ट करना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, 1-2 घंटे लग जाते हैं फोन लगाने में। प्लीज जरा उसको वो एरिया को करें। थैंक यू बजाज जी, थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir. With that, we finish the question and answer session. And now hand it over back to the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. I now request to start with Rajiv.
Yeah.
The Managing Director, Rajiv Jain, to start answering the questions.
Thank you for all your questions. While I've noted them all, if I miss something, I've requested my colleague Sandeep Jain to just ensure to back me up and respond to your question that I may miss. First was, thank you Satyan for your confidence in us as a company. Clearly your question was, online is lower than offline as a share. The answer is yes. Mainly our focus is on average ticket size of a client for 10,000 rupees and above. If you were to go to Flipkart or Amazon, these are the 2 large platforms in India. If any product is less than 10,000 rupees, you would essentially find that we don't provide coverage, because we are in the business of risk. Even if a few number of clients default, and they default, we have to be able to collect efficiently from them. So in terms of less than 10,000, the economic size or the economic cost really doesn't work out. As we expand the scope of that, back it up with wallets, back it up with credit cards, you would see our share of online grow. It's reasonably high given it's powered by our 20 million EMI card holders. So you would see it continue to grow. We remain focused on it. Payment companies, look, the important point is at this moment, you're absolutely right. JP Morgan profitability is looking lower than market cap is looking lower than MasterCard. The point is, on a 10-year horizon, we're building these businesses a 10 to 15-year view. Profit pools are as important as market capitalization. Market capitalization would eventually be preceded by the size of the profit pool. And we as a company are on the cusp of what I would say B2B and B2C. We originate customers, millions of loans and customers at point of sale, and cross-sell lending products to them. So it's a little bit of uniqueness from a model standpoint that we have managed to, by lots of strategies are by serendipity as much as they are by design. We've bumped into. We continue to believe that that being on the cusp of that allows us to traverse between a payment company and a lending company and a broader financial services company. So I would assure you that you may see expressions of both a payment company and a lending company as we keep moving forward. Employee base of HDFC Bank versus us, it's not a fair comparison. I would just say, only last point I would make is that, you know, as we go deeper and deeper into India, into rural India, from a controllership standpoint, we want to make sure the set of roles are separated. So if you take our rural business, it's 7% of our balance sheet, but it's 23% of our people. If you knock that off, our numbers would look much more different. Despite that, the comparison between a banking business which has branches and so on and so forth would be not fair. Cybersecurity, we remain fully seized. It's an important point that you made. We have a rigorous annual cybersecurity audit infrastructure. But I'll make it more important point that 60% of our workloads as a company is between Amazon and Azure. Okay. They have never had, there's no never say never. They work on the cutting edge of cybersecurity. In a way, we have quote unquote outsource, if I may say so, and I'm not using the word loosely. In addition to all the work that we're doing on cybersecurity, have handed over the responsibility of cybersecurity to AWS and to Azure clouds. And their business is only security. If they ever fail, it will be a huge blow to the cloud business. And as I said, not small, between 60 and 62% of our overall workloads today run on cloud. To Mr. Haria's question, last book size, why it's gone down by 24%. Clearly, balance sheet was close to $1 billion in September 18 until IL&FS collapsed. Since then, markets have been extremely volatile. We run a conservative business, and as a result, the stance has been a conservative stance over the last 18 months on the last business. What we're doing on the last business, however, is to invest this time to build Bajaj Financial Securities. That's a new company that we're incubating at this point in time. We have a discount. We want to build a discount brokerage business there within next 3 to 5 year view. So, given the volatility on one side, and we are putting our efforts on building a full-fledged securities business. Disbursement is not really a relevant metric because we disburse a loan to you, you pay it back to us, we again disburse to you. So it's not really a relevant metric at all. IPO financing, we have a reasonably large market share in IPO financing as a company. That's a fact. Market share is not really relevant because of very large liquidity we run as well. And this money goes out only for 4 to 5 days. We do have a reasonably dominant share. And wherever we deem appropriate as a company, we participate in IPO financing business. Income is up, PAT is down, mainly because of the one-time COVID provision in the last year we took. You adjust for that, profits have actually grown faster than the income. Service tax litigation, we have one service tax litigation at this point in time to the tune of 1,400 crores. That's a subvention matter. We are very clear in form and in spirit from a standpoint that we are on a very strong ground. The case has been going on since 2017, if I'm not mistaken. The timing of resolution of these cases is difficult for us to determine and decide. It's highly unlikely the timeline that you made to us that could we conclude this by end of the year is not in our control. Recovery cost breakup, clearly it's a linear model as we do more loans, even if the same number of people default, we have to collect from those many more people. So it's linear in general to the balance sheet for us as a company. Given our strong stance as a company, have the costs gone up faster than the costs have gone up on revenues have gone? The answer is yes. As I said in my opening remark that the company was on a very strong ground. We were looking at a much stronger growth year this year. And as a risk business, we deemed it appropriate that we invest first in risk management, then grow. And that's really why we did what we would call internally break to grow in some of our collections infrastructure, and that's where the cost is up. To Mr. Naredi's question, what is the growth horizon? Long-term growth horizon remains 23 to 25% balance sheet growth and a 23 to 25% net income growth on a sustainable basis. Our overall share of market, despite being amongst the largest non-bank finance companies in India, as a percentage of total credit, remains at 120 basis points. We have a long horizon of growth. However, I would just make a point that the year of pandemic requires us to focus on capital preservation, liquidity management, and there will be many more years to grow as we get out of this COVID pandemic. You had a question on secured and unsecured balance sheet. 40% of the balance sheet is unsecured, 60% of the balance sheet is secured. You had a question on credit card update. It's our ambition to be among the top 4 card issuers in India. We have rapidly moved from 0 to 1.8 million cards in force in less than 3 years' time. We only do business in general with our good customers. So the portfolio has also performed extremely well over the last 3 years, and it's disproportionately profitable to the company. To Vaibhav Agarwal's question, we have so far provided 3,000 crore. What do we see recovery to be? It is the situation is very fluid, Vaibhav, if I may say so. In general, if it was a slower economic period and economic recovery happens, in general, in my past 27 years, it's our experience that large charge-offs result in, on a lagged basis, higher recoveries in subsequent years. I hope that turns out to be true even with this crisis. But we'll have to just wait to see. It would be inappropriate for me to comment given that we are right in the middle of once in a century pandemic. On ROE horizon, we've as a company delivered over the last 10 years between 20 and 22%. We remain committed to deliver anywhere between 21 to 23%. I say to shareholders that if you do better, that means management has outperformed. So in a year, we may outperform. In a year, we may perform in line. In a year, we may perform below our long-term average. A year of pandemic may be one of those years. But clearly, that's really how financial services business run. Over the long term, we remain committed to provide 21 to 23%. To Rachna Prasad's point on social media, we are as much a victim of the entire process as, we have let me just take you through the process first. We have a dedicated social media team which constantly monitors customers' queries across various social media channels. There is company has made investments in online reputation management, social listening, real-time query analysis framework. So significant investments have been made. We do realize that social media tends to amplify both ways, the goods and the bads dramatically. That's the nature of the platform. During pandemic, has that noise clearly gone up? It has, mainly as a result of moratorium. So moratorium has resulted in default rates go up by 2.5 to 3x. When we reach out to those clients say we are in pandemic, we are not supposed to pay. Those clients who have registered for a moratorium request, we are not reaching out to them. But those who have not registered for a request for a moratorium, we as a company are well within our rights to reach out to them and request for repayment of installments. As we do that, the amplification goes up. We've seen it soften over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but we continue to keep our ears close to the ground to ensure that we can do our best if it is a rightful complaint or a query on social media. To the rural India recovery, clearly, as I said in my Q1 remarks, semi-urban and rural recovery at this point in time is looking better. The only hope that I have is that the pandemic should not transition from large cities to medium cities and to smaller cities. That remains is the only cautionary point I would make. And given that we have a very large breadth, we are and footprint, are we slowly seeing that happen? The answer is yes. But if that does not happen, clearly semi-urban rural cities, which is 120 plus cities, the way we really look at it, should drive recovery for India and definitely for the company. To my last question, to the last shareholder on profitability, goals. One of the reasons I talked about the last 10-year growth is that it's extremely important that we build a long-term business. I do tell shareholders that in financial services business, there can be a given year when you don't deliver on the long-term goal. But in the longer term, will we deliver on a CAGR basis the profitability goals? The answer is yes. So it's very uncertain at this point in time. Situation is extremely fluid. 15% of the markets are in lockdown. It would be very difficult to hazard a guess on what the profitability for the year is likely to be. The only point I would make is our pre-provision profitability remains very strong to navigate through this crisis, is the only important point I would make. Rights issue, our timing of the previous QIP was really timely, is what I would say. We managed to raise as a company 8,500 crores. At this point of time, company's tier 1 capital is at 22.6%. Its overall capital adequacy is at 26%. You raise capital if you need it for growth and you can deliver durable return to the shareholders. Raising capital for a company which has 22.6% would be unfair to the shareholders. Leave anything else. So I would say it's in your interest that we should not be doing a rights issue or raising capital, because we just raised it. Affordable housing, it's a fair point that you make. We started the transformation journey of Bajaj Housing Finance 2.5 years ago. If pandemic had not happened, you would have seen us enter affordable housing in the current year. It was part of our plan. But given pandemic has happened, at this point of time, at least for the next 6 months, we would not start the business. Over a long term, do we have a view to be in affordable housing and a reasonably dominant player? The answer is yes. In the short term, especially for the current year, the answer would be no. Self-employed home loan, it is very interesting. Out of 13 years that we have done home loans, 12 years we have done home loans, we actually started home loans self-employed. We didn't start with salaried home loans because the margin profile was poorer than self-employed. But over time, the competitive intensity and the margin profile deteriorated to a point where we had to pause self-employed home loans. Nothing to do with salaried are better than self-employed. It's a margin profile, and in the interests of the shareholders and ensuring that we deliver a minimum hurdle rate of return on every business that we are in, that we had to actually pause self-employed home loans. M&A opportunity, we are an organic business and we continue to be an organic business. We have access to 43 million customers, and working with our retailer ecosystem, access to close to 60 million other prospects. So we have access to 105 million people. We have capital, we have liquidity. We have to just get through the pandemic, and growth should not be a challenge for the company. Service channels, your point is correct. At times, if you are not one of the, let's say you're not an EMI card customer, it is possible that you're pushed through IVR rather than pushed through a voice on the other side. So it's possible. I would only just say, so there are two parts to this. One is to manage optimally cost. That's one of the considerations that come in. Second is we continue to invest in creating more and more service channels, whether it is IVR, whether it is bots, whether it is SMS whether it's Alexa, whether it's Google Assistant, to ensure we create a multi-channel orchestration infrastructure for our customers to be able to access us. But is it possible that you may be one of the customers who may not be able to access a voice on the other side? It's possible. That's really the questions that are there. Sandeep has told me that Mr. Naredi had a question on Karvy recovery update. We are working with Karvy as a company to recover our dues. We have a collateral of 10% of KDML, which is one of the companies that they actually intend to sell. And we were working very closely with them. We hope to provide an update as part of our Q2 update to the shareholders. I think I've covered it all. I think two more questions that have come by email as to what are the future plans of the company. I talked about the future plans of the company in the earlier update, that as we believe very strongly that never let a crisis go waste. We are working tirelessly at this point of time as management to really transform the company and accelerate our transformation framework. So you should see the moment of truth for our customers dramatically change in the next 10 to 12 months time is what I would just state to you, subject to COVID doesn't deteriorate, because at the end of the day, work has to be done by people, and people have to be around to be able to do this. COVID doesn't deteriorate, you should see a significant transformation in the way customers experience us as a company by aggregating our payments infrastructure, our marketplace infrastructure, and the franchise, which is 43 million customers. So that's really what really we are up to as a company. Sandeep, what is the last question? In terms of profit margin, there's a question on how are we as a company different from in terms of profit margins. Clearly, among the large non-banks, we would be amongst the top quartile or top decile of in terms of profitability and return matrix, and we hope that we can continue to sustain that as we grow larger and larger as a company. That's really all the responses to the questions that were there. I hope I've covered it all. If I've not covered, myself and Sandeep are happy to be able to engage separately on a one-on-one basis. Chairman has asked me to also share that as much as we continue to be focused on ensuring that shareholders do well, we remain committed to, we remain a highly employee-focused company. We were ranked as among the top 5 companies to work for in India by Great Places to Work. We've been working with them over the last 10 years. We started our journey from being the 60th best company, went to among the top 25. Last year we were 11th, and this year we are 5. Hopefully one day we'll be able to share that we are amongst the best company to work for in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajiv. Excellent. I would really like to add that whatever little I know of Bajaj Finance, last, I don't know how many years, last 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, the top management of the company and the senior management, I would say that would include over 1,000 people. They've been working very, very hard. These results of the last so many years, including the result of 1920, is not possible. It's not just luck. It's just hard work and smart work. And I may also add, however hard they have worked, say in the year 2019, they have worked much harder. I don't know how it can be much harder, but in the last 4 months of this COVID-19 situation, everybody seems to be sort of all the time on the job. But congratulations to, of course, Vice Chairman and the Managing Director, the CFO, and all the top management. There are some of them who are here, and congratulations for the results, and of course, the dedication and commitment that you are showing. I would now come towards the end of the meeting and would once again request members who have not yet earlier voted through remote e-voting to cast their votes at the meeting and at the e-voting process. And as I said earlier, the e-voting process will be kept open for another 10 minutes. The company secretary, that is R. Vijay, and the scrutinizer, Mr. Lemaire, should coordinate for orderly conduct of the meeting. I may add that the results of the meeting, along with the scrutinizer's consolidated report, would be declared and posted on the company's website and KFIN's website no later than 23rd July 2020, and shall of course also be forwarded to the stock exchanges. Sorry. Recorded transcript will also be made available on the company's website as soon as possible. Before I hand over the proceedings to the company secretary and the scrutinizers to complete the e-voting formalities, and of course, subject to the e-voting of the company to declare the business of the meeting has concluded, I have a personal, let's say, statement to make. Directors are aware of it. Many of the shareholders, or most of the shareholders, perhaps are not aware of it. I've decided, for various reasons, but keeping in mind the need for succession planning, to resign as the non-executive chairman of your company, that is Bajaj Finance, with effect from the closing business hours of 31st July this year, 2020, effective from 1st August 2020. Because of your shareholders' good wishes and all concerned, I've been the chairman of this company since its inception around 1987, and I've been chairman continuously for 33 years. I really do believe that while there is need for succession planning, but perhaps many would say, and I would also like to believe, I should have taken this decision quite a few years earlier. But anyway, that's in the past. So I have this to declare to you that I will now resign as the non-executive chairman effective 1st August 2020. The board has already decided that, and but I would continue as a non-executive director, as I'm already on the board, and I will continue as the director of the company. So I'll continue to meet you people at the AGM with shareholder. And the board has decided, I don't know whether with my consent or against my consent, that to succeed me, the board has decided to appoint, ultimately to get elected, the present vice chairman, your present vice chairman, Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, as the new chairman of the company, non-executive chairman of the company, effective, obviously, 1st August 2020. Thank you very much, and now I hand over the proceedings of the company to the company secretary and scrutinizer to complete the e-voting formalities, and subject, of course, to the e-voting at the meeting, which is just 10 minutes, I declare the meeting, the business of the meeting as concluded. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.